What's up, ladies and gentlemen? Your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man coming at you live once again through the power of the internet. Just kidding. It's me, Boogie. I'm not Peter Parker. Hey, real quick, this is another movie review, and let me go ahead and say my movie reviews are the least performing videos here on my channel. So should I continue to do them or should I not? Because, you know, even if only 25, 55, 65,000 people watch these videos, I still really like making them for those people. The problem is the YouTube algorithm can punish me for having low-performing videos like that. So do me a favor. If you do find value in this video, will you do me a favor? Leave a like, leave a comment, share it with somebody you think will enjoy it. That way the YouTube algorithm doesn't punish my whole channel for creating these videos that only a handful of people want to see. And I do know why so many people dislike them, and I've read a thread on my subreddit that kind of talked about it, and they said that, you know, whenever you make a video, I already know what you're going to say because you don't post reviews of videos you don't like. Or movies you don't like. And here's the thing, you are correct. I do not go see movies I do not like or do not think will do well. So most of the time I make a movie review, it's because I want you guys to see it. I want you to see the movie, and I want to encourage you to do that. That said, leave a like, leave a comment, and let the algorithm know that you enjoy these videos. And if not, that's okay too. I'll probably still keep making them because it's not about the views. It's about having fun. And I did enjoy this movie. It was very fun. As always, whenever I do a movie review, Spidey's head will be on this side of the screen, or whatever logo I use, when I'm doing spoiler-free. And the first part of this video will be spoiler-free. When I get to the spoiler section, I will move it to here, and I'll probably sing a song to let you know that I'm getting into the spoiler section. So, spoiler-free, should you see this movie? Yes, if you are a Marvel fan, if you are a Spider-Man fan, and it's something that I think you would enjoy. I think you probably are right. There's a few special occasions there that's the case. If you're pretty much a fan of the old school Peter Parker with a very strict moral like decision, you want the storyline. You want the Uncle Ben dying. You want the with great power comes great responsibility. If you want that again, you're not going to get it here. This is a complete re-envisioning of the character, including a complete re-envisioning of the storyline to fit into the Marvel Cinematic Universe, including a completely different supporting cast. It is very, very different, which is why I liked it, but you may not. Now, I'm not a huge comic book nerd. Well, I'm huge, and I'm a comic book nerd, but I'm not that into the comics. But I will say, if you are into the comics, there are a lot of really cool nods here to the comics, stuff that reminds you of stuff that you've seen in the comics, some of the more pivotal scenes. It's pretty cool, but it is very different. This is now my favorite Spider-Man movie to date as a Spider fan, a lifelong Spider fan. I've been a Spider fan since he was on Electric Company as a kid, that preschool program for kids on public television. I was a big fan of him there. I made my mom take me to meet him at Toys R Us when I was 6 years old. I love Spider-Man. He's my favorite character in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and probably one of my favorite characters of all time. He's got a mouth on him. He's the underdog. I like everything about him. That said, I loved this movie because of that, because of how different and unique and bizarre it is compared to the other ones. And I like Spider-Man 2. It was good. Spider-Man 1 was okay. Spider-Man 3 was deplorable. I did not like any of the Andrew Garfield movies at all. They just were not my cup of tea. I just walked out of them like bored. I was bored halfway through the movies, but this one is very different, and I like it. That said, the plot is fairly predictable, and if you've seen the trailer, it's very predictable. There's still 20 or 30% of the movie was not spoiled in that big trailer that spoiled everything, and it's worth it to see those 20 or 30 minutes, and even the scenes that you know are going to happen are still well enough done to where I think it's okay to go see the film. But man, they really did not do themselves any favors with that spoiler. And again, this is not Scorsese, this is not Tarantino, this is a Marvel Cinematic Universe movie, so it fits in that universe. It's a fun summer popcorn film with a character that's very likable, with a cast that's very likable. That's done very, very well. Now the question remains, should you see this in the theater? I think the action looks very, very good, and it looks very, very good on the screen, and I think it's well directed, well written. I think that the action scenes are fantastic. There are no major spoilers here, though. There's nothing that anybody can yell at you or you're going to read on the internet or screen cap that you're going to see that will ruin this movie. So if you need to save the money, that's fine. I think the action makes it worth it, but you may not agree, and that's okay. This is, to me, considerably better than Ant-Man, considerably better than the Thor movies, but maybe not as good as, say, Civil War was, which you may or may not like. I loved Civil War, and Spidey's one of the major reasons. So use that at your discretion. Here's what I will say. I love the fact that they have re-envisioned the character in this way. Number one, he's actually a teenager. It makes sense that Aunt May is young. I love the fact that he's interacting with the supporting cast, the folks from the Avengers. I love the fact that the suit is different than any other suit. I love the fact that they bypassed the origin story, presuming since everybody else in the world, in the movie world, knows the origin story, and you at home probably know the origin story as well. They talk about it as if it were in the past, something that's already happened. You don't have to re-envision it. You don't have to see it again. You just know what happened, and everybody refers to it in the past, and it just feels good. The heavyset character, whose name I can't remember right now, his best friend, who you saw in the trailer, does a very good job of asking a lot of the questions that we, as the audience, would like to have answered. And I think they did that very, very well, while still giving us all brand new, albeit fairly predictable stuff. But at no point did I ever find anything campy or cheesy or across the line. Definitely no Spider-Man 3 vibes here. Just overall, it's just a very good Marvel Cinematic Universe film, and it's fun to eat popcorn while watching this. I might even see it a second time in the theater, and I think that if you're a fan of the character, they do the character justice. If you're a fan of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, they do it justice here. This is going to be one of the better movies. I don't know how it's reviewing, because I refuse to look at the reviews of this one. So I hope the majority of you are liking it. And if you are, leave that comment and let me know if you've seen it and what you thought of it. Let everybody else know so they'll know as well if you hated it or if you loved it. If you're planning to see it, let me know as well. That said, I think we should probably get into spoilers because we've talked about all of the basics there. It's directed well, it's written well, good use of music, good use of the cast, good use of the character, complete re-envisioning. So let's talk about the specifics. Spider-Man does whatever a spider can. He's 15 in this film. That's how old he's supposed to be. Look out. This is a cool Spider-Man. Okay, so I think the polarizing point here is how vastly different this Spider-Man is from anything else that you've seen. And I think if you're younger, you probably grew up with Spider-Man from the movies. If you grew up with him from the comics, this is so different. So different from any other Spider-Man I've ever come across before. That said, it's a really good Spider-Man. It's a really good character. I love the fact that he's actually 15. I love the fact that he's still in high school. I love the fact that they do the whole trying to balance his social life with being a hero. I love that becomes the moral of the story for the end of the film, is that he chooses to try to stay low to the ground and tries to stay a person who stays in high school and tries to figure it all out, tries to have it all, I guess would be the right way to put it. And I love the nods to the comic book stuff. I love the crucifying scene when he's trying to keep the fairy together. I love the nod to Miles Morales, which is fantastic. I love the re-envisioning of the Vulture as well. The Vulture in this film makes sense to be called the Vulture because he is genuinely gathering trash and using it, all this alien trash from the New York event, and using it against the Avengers, using it to do crime, using it to make a profit. I love that. The Vulture was always just this weird character, as are most of the Spider-Man villains. They're just weird and bizarre and non-interesting. They're not powerful enough to really challenge the Avengers. They're just powerful enough to challenge Spider-Man, who's not that powerful himself. And so the Vulture has just always been weird. This was an interesting way to re-envision that character. And Michael Keaton as the Vulture. Oh my gosh, this was one of his best roles. I loved him as Birdman, now I love him as an actual bird. I love it. He did such a good job here, and I look forward. I hope they do more with the character, and I hope they do more with that envisioning of the Vulture. Also, there is the Shocker in this film. You get two villains for one, and the Shocker in this, in this movie is just kind of a throwaway henchman. And what I think is so interesting about it is there's this cute little nod, which I think maybe frustrates some people, but I thought was adorable, is that one guy had the Shocker weapon, and he was calling himself the Shocker, and he was using it to shock people and to shock things, and then he gets killed by the Vulture, and then he passes off the shocking weapon and then says, "You're the Shocker now." What I think is interesting about that is how there was so much diversity in this movie. They definitely, made sure that every character that could be a different color, a different race, a different sexual orientation, they did a lot of that in this movie. Not to take away from the movie at all. I don't think it took away from the movie at all, especially since this is a re-envisioning a la the Miles Morales re-envisioning, which we'll talk about in just a minute. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. I've only ever seen it written down. I've never heard it spoken out loud, so I may be messing it up. But that said, I think that was just kind of a little nod to the fact that they were doing that with this movie. And it's okay, I think, when you're doing a full re-envisioning of the character and a full re-envisioning of the world, like they did with Miles. And I know only a little bit about Miles. I've only read a handful of the comics, and I've only read about other people's opinions of the characters. And as far as I can tell, Miles is a really good example of getting it right when you're going to do that kind of thing. And I think this is exactly that. I think this movie does it right when they change the characters and the love interests and the supporting cast while leaving the character himself to just be himself, right? Or in the case of Miles, just being completely different, but staying true to the roots, which I think is fantastic with Miles. And then there is the Donald Glover nod in this film that shows that Miles could exist in this same world, in the same timeline, as well as potentially having two Spider-Man in this same world, two people with the same power sets, bit by the same spider. I really hope that's the case. I hope that that's what they're doing with this. I hope that we have two Spider-Men, because I love the idea of a diverse Spider-Man that gets to coexist with the main character and share screen time. If that was the second Spider-Man movie along this line, I would be so happy. At the end of the movie, of course, we find out who the girl who calls herself MJ is. So presumably she'll be the love interest in the movies going forward. And just wow. I was so impressed with that. And I know that'll be a breaking point for a lot of people. I know a lot of people hate that kind of stuff. It really irritates them. And it irritates me a lot of the times too. Obviously, you saw my Ghostbusters review where I said the movie was mediocre at best. And then you take all that into account and it kind of ruined it for me. Did not ruin it here for me. Actually made it better. Because as a lifelong Spider fan, I want something new. I want something unique. I love the new super-powered suit. I love how it has AI in it. I love how it's got the training wheels program on it. I love everything about this film, and I probably will see it a second time, and I hope that you enjoyed it as much as I did. I think the casting for Peter was perfect. I love Tony Stark having such a pivotal role. I love the offering at the end of him potentially becoming an Avenger. I wish he took it. I wish he took it, because in the 80s and 90s, he was an unofficial Avenger for a lot of the time. And then, he was an unofficial X-Men a lot of the times too. He was always the outcast. He was always the underdog. And I would love to have seen him take the position. But the fact that this film is all about him trying to balance that social life, and in the end, choosing the social life because he's 15 and because he's a kid and he needs that and he wants that. And Tony wants that for him, kind of. I think it's just a good, heartwarming, moral message, and it just made me feel good. It was wholesome. It was a very wholesome Spider movie, and I loved it. So that's it. That's it, guys. I hope you agree with me. I hope you don't disagree. If you do disagree, I would love to read in the comment section below. I hope you enjoyed the film. If you chose to see it and you made it this far, let me know in the comment section below, guys. As always, thank you for watching. I love you very much, and I'll speak with you again.